Hey everybody, Pete Meyer, Motor Age Magazine, here with you in another episode of In the Workshop. You've heard us stress a lot of times that in order to be successful repairing some of the tougher diagnostic issues that we face on a modern automobile, you need information, you need resources, and sometimes you can spend a lot of time trying to gather up all those resources. Oh, they're out there. I mean, in the days of the internet, it's not hard to find information, but knowing that you got good, accurate information, of course, is a critical factor, and knowing that the source is valid is another critical factor. But there's a name called Mitchell 1 that we're all pretty familiar with, used on demand for years, of course, and now their new product, Pro Demand. And now they have an additional resource that you may or may not know about called SureTrack, a way to help working technicians solve problems easier and faster. And here to tell us about it today is Mr. Pat Merck. He is the Manager of Information for Mitchell 1's SureTrack program. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Oh, very well, thank you. We kind of stress, like I said, that information is key to being successful in fixing today's cars. Most nationally renowned trainers that I've listened to have told us that if you don't have a diagnostic direction on your own within about 30 minutes, then you need to start looking for some help. And in the old days, it was the other guys in the shop. So you might have two or three mentors that might help you out. As the internet came online, of course, a lot of organizations spread up. IATN, for example, that proved to be a valuable resource. But trying to hunt all that stuff and going from maybe IATN to other products to enthusiast forums, whatever, trying to get the bits and pieces to help you fix that car. I guess you guys have a way around all that, right? A product called SureTrack.
Absolutely. So it's a fantastic product that we're starting to mix repair analytics with expert information, TSBs, recalls. We have information from successful repairs, test information, away from library, and then also a community to help people answer questions that they're still having problems trying to solve.
All right, so a lot of those things that we would tend to dig for from a variety of sources you're putting in one place. That sounds really cool. Before we go into it real deep there, Pat, though, I want to let anyone who has joined us on the social network and wants to interject their 2 cents, you can go straight to the YouTube page and enter your comments there, or send us a tweet if you're a tweeter using the hashtag AutoRepairInfo. It's all one word, hashtag AutoRepairInfo. So with that said, Pat, tell me and those who are watching all about SureTrack.
Great. So what I'll do is I'll go through a couple slides here to take you through SureTrack, what it looks like, the different features, and how it works. And so we'll actually do a repair scenario checking out a P0101 on a Tahoe. So let me get a screen share started here. Okay, so this is the home page of SureTrack, and so you can see a whole bunch of things happening here. You see that on the right side we have SureTrack Pulse, and that's kind of like a list of activities happening on the site. So there's two aspects of SureTrack. One is all the expert information analytics, but there's also the community aspect, and so we'll take a little look at that here in a little bit. In the center and the bottom we have latest fixes and latest questions, so you can see some more activity. And then of course on the bottom left is the count of information pieces we have. And so we're typically adding several hundred new tips a day to the site, and last week we actually added over 130,000. So it's a site that's growing, but it has a lot of great content. So let's pretend to log in, and so now we're going to log in and go to the search screen. And so you see on the top that we've identified the 2001 Chevy Tahoe with a 5.3. And so let's pretend that this car came in, or this truck came in with a P0101, and so we want to take a look at it. And so we'll enter in P01 in search, P0101 in the search, and bring back a search page. Oops, but before that, we also might want to take a look at recalls and campaigns. And so you can see that we have a list of all the current recalls, campaigns, and TSBs. I won't go too deep into it, but it's a pretty typical way of looking at content there.
Sure. I mean, I just interject there real quick. It's one of the very first things that we tell guys to do. You're not going to reinvent the wheel if you're dealing with a weird drivability issue or one that you haven't run into before. So many things now are programming. You have to go in and redo the software, and you're never going to figure that out with a normal diagnostic process. You need to go in and check those TSBs for information on any new updated software, even often new components that the factory releases to address a concern. So guys, don't reinvent the wheel. Make that one of your very first stops.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. So now go to the next page, and so we have a tip here called P0101. And for those who have a Snap-on platform, you'll recognize these types of tips. Those are Snap-on troubleshooter tips that we have in SureTrack. But the thing that's new and exciting and different is we have the repair analytics graph on top. And so these are parts that are commonly replaced to fix a P0101 on a Tahoe. So right now we're just showing parts information on this graph, but in the future we're actually looking to start capturing the repair type of repairs, right? So if there's a flash or a clean, repair a wire harness, doing some sort of adjustment, we'll start having that type of information also in the graph. So the graph's kind of cool because you can take a look at that and see what's commonly replaced that fixes vehicle. And so for cars that have pretty complex systems, and a lot of them do, right? They're very difficult to diagnose. Looking at a graph, well, it's not a silver bullet, but it definitely narrows down the focus of where to look. And so between the graph and the tip, we get a pretty good understanding of what's happening with the vehicle and where to look at first.
Yeah, Pat, I got to tell you, and again, I'm sorry for interjecting, but
That's okay.
I really want everyone who's watching to make sure they heard what you just said. We stress using a variety of resources to help you fix the cars, to locate commonalities. Again, it used to be things that we would ask the guys working with us in the same shop, maybe even the same community. Now we have access to techs who are working all around the globe, literally, via the internet and the resources we can pull. But again, these, as Pat mentioned, please don't use these as silver bullet fixes. Just because 330 people had this issue with the particular car and you're dealing with the same issue, doesn't mean that you have the 331st. As Pat mentioned, these are not silver bullets, but they are clues to help you identify pattern issues, perhaps, that you can then test and verify and make sure that you would have the 331st before you just throw the part at it. So please don't fall in that trap of throwing parts at something to see what causes the fix. Use these as a diagnostic aid and not as a substitute for professional service.
Yeah, so I was a tech for 13 years, and one of the things I used to do when I wasn't sure about a diagnosis was to go to the parts counter and go say, hey, do you have one of these parts in stock, right? So if I thought it was a faulty part and they had 20 in stock and they were selling 20 a week, I'm pretty sure that was going to be the part. But if
that's a good clue.
Absolutely, it's a great clue, right? But if they didn't have the part in stock and never sold it, then I wouldn't go take a look somewhere else. And so this graph kind of gives you that same clue as well. You can see at what mileage these parts are being replaced. So if I'm seeing a spike in MAF sensor replacements at 125,000 miles, but my car only has 50, then I may go look somewhere else. But if it's at the right mileage, then it's a really good clue to take a look here.
Absolutely. And I like the way that graph is laid out to show that. It makes it a very quick visual indicator. That's an excellent resource.
Yeah. And so the other thing we have is something called a real fix, right? So where the tip typically displayed things to go try, a real fix is actually a real repair that happened in the shop. And so this information is based off of shop repair orders. We can take the information and rewrite it into a format that's really easy to consume. And so it's typically written in a complaint cause correction format that service technicians understand this. And so when I went to tech school, a long time ago, kind of aging myself, a long time ago, it was one of the first things we learned is how to read and write a repair order so we can communicate back to the customer what fixed the vehicle. I also was a service manager for 4 years, and so I know we should stress this a lot, writing a repair order, how to communicate. But anyway, it's a real common format, complaint cause correction. It talks about one type of repair for this problem, and it's it's a simple, easy follow format. So one of the things we're also doing with SureTrack is describing pattern failures, right? So we have the fixed it mark next to the real fix. We are capturing pattern failures, and so when you get a chance to take a look at a site, you'll see that we'll have 10 fix-its or 20 fix-its, and so that's telling you that this fix has actually helped someone fix the vehicle 20 times, and so you can see what are the most common problems of the vehicle and helps you narrow your focus in. So let's say that we took a look at this NAS airflow sensor and you tested it. Yeah, I think it's bad, but actually you want to test it. You're not sure how to test it. The other cool thing we have in SureTrack is how to test components, and so I'll go to the next page. And so you can see on the top that we switched tabs, right? We went from the SureTrack tab to the component test tab. And here we have information from the Snap-on Vantage. All right, so we're talking about component operation, the test location. We have a connector pinout, and we also have how to test a component. So, we'll pretend again that we're going to test a component and we're going to do a MAF frequency test. And so I look at my meter and I get a pattern when I snap the throttle, but I'm not really quite sure if it's good or bad. And so because I just don't know, I'm not experienced with the vehicle. So the other piece of reference information we provide in SureTrack is a waveform library. And so we are getting close to 40,000 waveforms and bit graphs on the site right now, and working to expand that library.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's actually really kind of cool, right? Because now we're linking the test information, the real fix information, the repair analytics, how to test, and a library of information how to validate. And so we're working with both known good and known bad patterns to describe and show the technician how their information compares to what we know is right and wrong with the vehicle. Right, so it's interesting. So let me back up one slide, and you can see on the top right we have enter a tip, ask the experts, and print. And so ask the experts is a kind of a neat feature we have to let you interact with the community of experts for this vehicle. So if I go 2 slides forward, we have a question entry form. And so what we have here is a way to send your question about the vehicle you're working on to a community of experts. And you can see on this slide here on the top that we actually have 116 subscribed experts, which means when you ask a question, you're not just calling one guy down the street, you're actually broadcasting your question with the information you collected from the vehicle to 116 people. And typically we've seen responses back as fast as 5 minutes from 2 or 3 industry experts that are giving you really valid tests on how to, or valid information on how to understand and repair the vehicle, right? So you can ask questions about how to test a sensor, does this pattern look good, you know, what else have you seen? And so we're collecting these threads and adding the interaction between the asker of the question and the answers back into SureTrack to support the community.
Okay, now I got to clarify this, and let me see if I understand where we're at. So in other words, I can look up reported good fixes. I can look at the graph that goes along with those to see, based on mileage or interval, you know, what is the most likely time for some of these issues to show up. I can avail myself of actual Snap-on related testing data. In other words, where the component's located, where the connector pinout is, how to do the test, and follow that up with the waveform library to show me what known good and known bad might look like. And that even then, if I still don't get it, or I still have a stumbling block, I can, right from the same terminal, I can email experts or contributors to help me right then and there?
Absolutely. It's all in one package.
Wow.
Yeah, it's actually really cool, right? And so, you know, we were doing customer focus groups a couple of years ago and kept hearing about, you know, their technicians were looking around at different sources. And, you know, remember being a tech myself, if you get into a car 20 or 30 minutes in, that clock starts ticking really loud and the pressure starts going up.
Yeah,
and
sure.
All the time you spend looking for new information is, you know, more time chewing up that hour you have for diagnosis. And so to present this all in one package, you know, it's definitely a time saver. You know, behind the scenes, also building this information. Didn't really get into that. We have a team of like 40 master techs, maybe more than that now.
Wow.
So actually building troubleshooter at CTM, there is 40 master techs, and then people writing the real fix information. There's another 20 to 30 master techs involved in creating that content. So it's a large team with a lot of expertise. And a lot of those people are still the same people who are very active in the community, right? So they're asking questions, answering questions.
Now, where are the community members? I mean, this is unique to SureTrack, or where is this community set up, and how are people involved with that? Are they all SureTrack subscribers, or?
Yeah, so right now they're all SureTrack subscribers, and they're based all over North America.
I see.
And so it's kind of interesting for us. You know, we get the viewpoint of people doing repairs all over North America. So, you know, being based in San Jose and Poway, you know, right now we have West Coast people who are writing content, but you know, the cars and problems where people are seeing, the cars are in different conditions, and the problems people are seeing out in the East Coast are different than the West Coast. And so I think it's great to get a nationwide perspective on vehicle repairs.
Well, again, this is just like talking with the guys, you know, in the old days when you're, you know, talking with the guys in the shop about what's going on with a particular car you might be facing with. Only now you've taken it, you know, on a more national scale. You know, I mean, not only are the people who are using SureTrack getting the benefit of the resources that are already there, but if they put in their 2 cents, they post, you know, what they found and share what they learned. Everybody on the net benefits from it.
Absolutely. Excuse me. So let me go to the last slide here. We'll show you this is what a thread looks like. And so this is just someone who's asked a question, and you can see the answers. And so the cool thing here on the left is you have the ratings on the technicians who are answering questions. And so you can see the green and gold stars. And basically what that is the person who asks the question is asked to close it when they're done fixing the vehicle. And so they ask a question, they're talking about the symptom, what they've done so far, and the question. And when they get some answers that they like and help fix the vehicle, they close the question. And so we marry up the best answer, and so there's only one best answer with the question, and then details on what fixed the vehicle. And so the ratings we have that define the expertise of the answers come from the community. And so these people are being rated by a community of their peers. And so it's not just Mitchell 1 saying these people are experts. We actually have other technicians saying these guys know what they're talking about, and they're fixing the vehicles. I guess one point I didn't really make really clear on the previous slide is the Chevrolet community and the 116 subscribed experts. So these people who are receiving the email notifications have signed up and are voluntarily answering questions because they believe in what we're doing here, and are big enthusiasts in the community. And so it's not just anybody who's going to get the answer. It's people who actually have known expertise, or at least they say they have expertise in these vehicles. But the real expertise and the real understanding of their expertise comes from the rating from the community.
Again, if you have any questions and you're watching out there, you can tweet us just at the hashtag auto repair info, or comment on directly on the YouTube page by following the links that you see, whether you're looking at Facebook, Google+, Twitter, wherever you happen to see the notifications, if you have any questions. So Pat, let's surmise, in just a couple of sentences, surmise SureTrack for me.
Sure. So SureTrack, all-in-one information resource that has repair analytics, experience-based information, excuse me, information from real repair orders, test information, validation information, and then back it up with strong community experts to help you get that car fixed fast. And so when I talk to my teams, it's all about getting these cars fixed fast and accurate, because I understand the pain. When the information is not right and the clock's ticking, the stress level goes up, and it's no fun to be stressed out and not really quite sure what you're doing with the vehicle. Yeah,
and again, we have to stress that if you're working on a flat rate commission basis, anything like that where time is of an issue, the customer's in the waiting room waiting for an answer.
Oh yeah.
Whatever it is, a pressure cooker sometimes, and dealing with some of these troubleshooting issues can be the more exasperating, right? It's not so bad if you're fixing a flat or doing a brake job or performing a routine service on the car, but when something's not right, you want to get some kind of direction, you want to get it fast. Again, 30 minutes. If you don't have it within 30 minutes on your own, take advantage of the resources that are out there. So anybody who's watching and now has piqued their interest on all of these avenues that SureTrack offers to help techs do exactly that, how do they go about becoming part of the SureTrack community?
Sure. So they go to the Mitchell 1 website, and there's all kinds of information how to get involved with ProDemand and ShopKey Pro and getting on SureTrack.
Awesome.
So it's the same link that we put up for Ben last week.
Awesome. So there you go, guys, gals. If you're watching, SureTrack from Mitchell 1, a multitude of resources, all packaged in one easy, accessible spot, so that you can speed up your diagnostic time and make those repairs more efficiently and more accurately than you may have currently. Pat, so much for the time that we had. I appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Sharing what we have about SureTrack. Again, fellas, Mitchell1.com. Learn more about SureTrack. Thanks, Pat.
All right, thank you.